group of young lawyers professionals from the different legal backgrounds decided to form this organization that breaks the regional barrier and unites the legal fraternity. This firm is actively working in the more than 23 states, which means that we have brought to the legal professionals of 23 states under the one roof. This shows that we are moving in the right direction, and soon the nation will witness a new sunrise in the legal profession. I am glad to inform here during this pandemic, All India Lawyers Forum has conducted the more than 32 webinars on the different topics with the eminent speakers. My team is highly grateful to our all guests and keynote speakers of the webinar, including the today Chief Guests, Honorable Justice Indra Banerjee Ma'am, for giving this valuable time. Thank you, and over to Pragya Prajapati.
Thank you so much, Vikas sir, and I'm really sorry for the goof up. उठो द्रौपदी शस्त्र उठा लो, अब श्री कृष्ण न आएंगे. 72 years of independence and we still rant about empowerment of women. आज भी हमें मैडम सर कहा जाता है, लेडीशिप बोला जाता है, और माय लॉर्ड्स बोलने में भी अभी भी लोगों के शायद होंठ दुखते हैं. Sheryl Sandberg said, in the future, there will be no female leaders. There will just be leaders. I hope there comes a time when we smash stereotypes, break the vicious cycle of inequality, and create a world which is diverse, equal, and inclusive. With that, I call upon our keynote speaker for the event, Senior Advocate. May I now hand over to Advocate Dalip Singh Ji, who is an LLB from Delhi University, mainly practicing in constitutional and civil law in Supreme Court and Delhi High Court. He is also associated with an NGO and he's been taking lectures in Amity University. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Justice Madam Indra Banerjee Ji, Sri Vinod Goyal Ji, Sri Vikas Verma Ji, Dr. Manoj Sinha Ji, Madam Vibha Datta Makhija Ji, and dear friends, I welcome you all in this great occasion on this wonderful evening here. I remember one line on 11th August 2020, while Honorable Supreme Court was passing one judgment, said that my daughter is my son is my son till he gets his wife, and my daughter is my daughter throughout my life. And this is an Irish kahavat, Irish idiom. And even this line was again earlier repeated by the Supreme Court in a judgment in 1996, Somwadi versus Savita Somwadi versus Union of India. And interestingly, Hindustan Times on the next date, on 12th of August 2020, wrote very significant line while describing this incident of this judgment of Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma, that on 73rd Independence Day, Supreme Court has given a great gift to these women of our society. No doubt our judicial system has done a lot in the direction of gender justice or women empowerment, but a lot is to travel. Many more miles is to go. Particularly, a lot is to be done in the lower judiciary, where at the first instance a person comes, a victim or a complainant comes in contact with the judicial system. And it is very difficult to understand in the present scenario where 5 crore cases are pending, how we can improve the facility of justice to be meted out to the complainant at the first instance, and particularly the women. Whenever we talk about this gender justice and women empowerment, two things comes into picture. First, the gender-friendly environment at the lower level of judiciary. And second, the timely decision. I remember just few months back, 67th meeting of UN General Assembly. This decision was taken by the world leaders that the only safe way or only effective way to provide an environment for the women empowerment and gender justice by providing proper judicial system for delivering speedy justice to the society. And this is more effective and this is more relevant in the context of our Indian society, where a large section of our society is in such a situation where they need immediate judicial help for gender justice. I say that we are lucky that we got some very good leaders in our past who created an environment for gender justice and women empowerment. And particularly I would like to remember the great person of our society, that is Jyotiba Phule and Ishwarchand Vidyasagar, who had worked a lot in the field of creating women empowerment and justice. Particularly the one thing is they emphasize that the education is the best way to empower and create the positive environment for gender justice. So at this evening of where we are celebrating the International Women Day, I would like to say that India in the present context need very effective lower judiciary system to create the environment and this gender justice as well as the sustainable tomorrow for women empowerment. So at this point, I'd like to remember one thing which I shared yesterday only with one of my colleagues. I asked her, what do you think about the women empowerment? Then in one line, that girl of 21 years told, मैं जो हूँ मुझे वो रहने दो, उतना ही में मेरी इज्जत करो, that will be my empowerment. And this is the true sense. This is what the UN Assembly said, that we have to create an environment where they can have the self-worth. So in the present scenario, the only thing I'll say, whether it is mental space or the virtual space or the real space, please respect her. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सो मच सर। यहाँ से आगे बढ़ते हुए हम दीप प्रज्वलित करने के लिए आज के अपने मुख्य अतिथि को बुलाएंगे। मनोज सर का यहाँ आ गया, छोटा सा बस, छोटा सा, ठीक है जी, हो गया कुछ नहीं, इंटरनेट में आ रहा था। With that, I call upon our keynote speaker for the event, Senior Advocate, Ms. Vibha Datta Makhija ma'am. Before that, let me also introduce to you the laurels ma'am has attained by far. Vibha ma'am was designated as a Senior Advocate in the year 2013 at a time when during the 62 years of Supreme Court, only 2 other women were designated as a senior by the full court. Ma'am graduated from Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University and did her law from Campus Law Center, Delhi University. After that, she went to the prestigious Georgetown University, Washington, D.C., United States of America for her master's in law. Ma'am was also associated with late Shri Arun Jaitley ji, Senior Advocate and a former Minister of Law and Finance from the year 1992 when she joined the bar till the year 2000. Ma'am Makhija is also a member of Asian Law Alumni Advisory Board, Georgetown University, United States of America, and acts as advisor to the board, advocating the interests of Indian students at the university. She's an active member of Supreme Court Bar Association with an extensive practice in constitutional law, criminal law, service matters, corporate law, and IBC. May I now request Vibha ma'am to kindly deliver the speech and solicit the occasion.
Respected Justice Indra Banerjee, Judge of the Honorable Supreme Court, Mr. Vinod Kumar Goyal, Chairperson of the All India Lawyers Forum, Mr. Vikas Verma, who's the co-chairperson of this organization, Dr. Manoj Kumar Sinha, Director ILI, and Ms. Pragya Parijat Singh, who has given a wonderful introduction, and I think that has been quite inspiring for all the young girls that I see here. Friends, colleagues, I see some students and other lawyers who are present here. So today, I think we are gathered here to talk about women empowerment. And I feel that a question that normally pops up in my mind is that why do we need to celebrate a Women's Day? Why don't we have a counterpart of it as Men's Day? Why is it necessary to even have a mark of celebration on a day like this? So this is not to say that women don't need to be celebrated or womanhood is not to be respected. But there is something more insidious behind this apparent celebration. The problem that lies behind the entire facade is the fact that historically women have been oppressed. Their roles have been slotted in very secondary fields and areas, and there is a general social conditioning which has been generated for women to believe that they are not capable or they are inferior, and for men to believe that they are superior. This kind of social conditioning is something which has been generated not only over decades but centuries and goes back to, ancient civilizations. Barring a few maternal societies, the paternal societies have generated, reaffirmed, re-agitated the space of women as a secondary space. And here I'd like to say that this secondary space is not relegated only for women. It is relegated to a large number of other persons who are also not socially acceptable in the mainstream of the society. And here I am referring to persons with different gender orientation, sexual orientations, and gender sensitivity. So what happens here is that anybody who does not fall in line with the majority or with the predominant psyche is alienated and is spit out of the system or the mainstream and is relegated to secondary and support roles to be played in the society. Because in order to succeed, in order to have any kind of an ambition actualized, you need a lot of support. And when you need that support, you cannot devote yourself or take up responsibilities which are multifaceted. You need to determine as to what your priority of roles is. And for that purpose, society has automatically, and paternal societies have automatically created these roles, which have become very stereotypical now. So we begin from a stereotypical premise, and anybody diverting from those stereotypical roles is supposed to be a person who's alienated from the mainstream. Now, this is something which is absolutely contrary to the basic human values as well as the civil rights which have been visualized in political systems or political documents such as the Constitution. So the society gets divided not on basis of abilities, of skills, of your technical skill sets, your intelligence, your commitment to activities, but purely and simply on basis of your sex and gender. And today we see that there is an evolving change in even of our perception of sex and gender roles. And sex, which is determined biologically, and gender is what is determined by identification. Today we see a huge variety of shades of sexual orientations and gender roles which are coming up, which the society is finding very difficult to deal with. So when we are talking of empowerment, we are not talking just about women. We are talking about certain other sections of society which does not belong to the dominant male sex, period. That's all. So anybody else who does not belong to that gender is dominated and is oppressed into a secondary role without effectuating the individual aspirations of these individuals. Now, as far as human values are concerned, individuals divorce of their standing in society, divorce their sexes, divorce their economic backgrounds, caste, race, etc., have personal aspirations. And those personal aspirations and rights are inalienable for every human being. To alienate those rights from persons who fall into a particular category is itself contrary to the principles of equity and justice. Societies mold themselves around principles of equity and justice. Societies propound that the rule of law has to be the basic thread that runs through the societal norms. However, it does not generate on-the-ground equality for various sections of society. And when I talk of equality, I do not mean equity. Equity means a proportionate representation numerically and quantitatively in various spheres. Equality has a much wider connotation and has many more facets and balancing features which will generate equality either artificially or naturally. So when we talk of equity, when we talk of reservations, when we talk of increasing the numbers, it is absolutely in the right direction because the numbers cannot lie. And for that purpose, they are a very good indicator of the inclusion of all the sections in a particular field. So equity is definitely the beginning point of any kind of inclusion, and which is what our political documents or statutes provide for, which is reservation according to the proportion in various jobs, in various committees, in all spheres of public life. Now, for government to effectuate equity is a lot more easy than for private sectors to effectuate equity. Because in government jobs, there are statutory backings, there are consequences, there are policies which are thought out and implemented. So the mechanism to implement certain policies and principles is very much available in any public sector or government organizations which provides for any kind of affirmative action. However, in unorganized sectors where there is no statutory framework which identifies, say, employment parameters or other matters, in those sectors, what happens is that the implementation quantitatively always undergoes a little bit of a problem. So, for example, let me take, say, the legal sector itself. So, as far as judges and appointments to the judiciary is concerned, we have manageable data in terms of the proportion of representation. So we know how many women judges are appointed as judges. We know how many are there in the High Court, what is their percentage, and thereby we have a very good idea about the quantum of their representation in these leadership positions. However, when we take our own unorganized sector of litigating lawyers, we do not have any organized method of employment. We don't have an employer-employee relationship which takes care of certain parameters that most employers must provide for the employees. And in these circumstances, neither is data manageable and nor are the norms strictly implementable. So what happens is that there is at this level, which is quantitatively a much larger section of society, what happens is that actually what has been visualized in the constitutional document has not percolated down to the grassroots level. Because the larger section of society, which is that of the lawyers, I'm talking only of the legal field. So the larger numbers, which are lawyers who far outnumber judges, do not effectuate the numbers. They are ad hoc in their policies. They are not sensitized to the fact that there are affirmative actions which even they are required to effectuate. So eventually what happens is that you need non-legal, non-formal methods to also get this policy implemented, change attitudes of people, because until and unless there is real change in the attitudes of people, there can never be any progress. People have to start with the point where they understand that taking up place of persons who should be also given an equal opportunity, that itself is unjust in a legal system. The problem is not that, I'm not advocating that exactly the same measures have to be taken for men as well as women or other orientations. What I am saying is that the roadblocks and the barriers which have been created to make it conducive for certain sections to participate in the power dynamic, in the day-to-day walks of life, those roadblocks have to be removed. Until and unless those roadblocks are removed, there can never be progress, there can never be equality. And equality, again, I am emphasizing, is not a 50-50. Equality is, given the parameters, the balancing of interests, the equality of access to various resources, and the equality of opportunity. And one of the examples for that, of course, is the most recent judgment regarding the barriers that were created with regard to women being recruited to the armed forces. So the judgment there are two judgments, one follow-up judgment. The thread that runs through that judgment is that something which is facially neutral, any measure, which directly does not impinge on any rights, but perpetuates an indirect inequality and discrimination, has to be also struck down under Article 14 and will also fall into the category of being an arbitrary measure. So eventually one has to see that what is the result of certain policies which directly do not say that do not recruit women or do not recruit a particular sexual orientation person. So what happens there is that it may be facially neutral. However, the undertones are that they make other parameters so difficult that anybody falling in that category will not be able to participate in that recruitment. So what is required to be done now is to recognize laws, to look at the laws from a perspective which recognize both direct and indirect discrimination. It's very necessary for us to see beyond the letter of the word. It is extremely necessary for the society to understand that a space has, and we have to be co-sharers. And we have to be co-sharers not just in, say, our workspace, but also in domestic spaces. So the social burden, which is usually assigned to women to take care of their domestic environment, also needs to be shared. In fact, in a beautiful book, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, who was earlier the CFO of Facebook, she went on to become the CFO from being, like in a corporate boardroom which was dominated only by men. What she said was that we need to create an environment where we lean in. So one of the most important things that women have to do for women is to lean in for each other. We also have to have systems. Women need to put in place systems where they support other women, especially younger women, who don't have the experience to deal with the dynamics. And in my opinion, as far as the legal profession goes and any workspace dynamic goes, one of the most effective support means that can be adopted is that of mentoring. Now, mentoring is something which we do not see at all, at least I have not seen in my profession on a large scale basis. Amongst, when we joined the profession, we always had an impression ex-seniors are good seniors and the rest are, you're just with them because you need to work. And only, we would feel that only in certain offices will we get support to, improve our careers. So that is something which we need to put in place formally and informally. Mentoring includes things like ensuring that there are placements of, more women. Also includes things like, after the placements, if there are difficulties that you are facing in your work environments, those difficulties have to be worked with. You also ensure, a very important aspect of mentoring is that knowledge flows peer to peer. Like if I know something and I have a junior in my office, he learns directly from me. So because the flow of information is peer to peer, therefore mentoring of entrance into the profession is a very important aspect of this movement. It is all right for us to stand here and say there should be women's emancipation, there's women's emancipation. But on ground, what we have to do is to guide women to not drop off, because the general pattern that we see is as soon as the work environment becomes a little difficult to handle, women choose to drop off, or they actually even have family pressure to drop off. So what we have to do as persons who have been there for so long, what we have to do is to mentor and assist the incoming generations and entrants to create a better and conducive environment for them to work in. The one more thing that I really wanted to talk about was, affirmative action. So mostly what happens is that the counter argument to affirmative action is the regular argument that there is a compromise of merit. However, the experience has shown that that compromise of merit at a particular point of time and space actually increases your intergenerational progress. It creates better and more diverse environments, and it is not necessary that only a particular skill set is what makes people successful. There are combinations of various skill sets which bring in new values into a work environment. And in that sense, I am a strong advocate of affirmative action. Definitely not so as to completely throw away the merit. However, making space for sections which have been artificially thrown out of the mainstream is a very important aspect, and I stand by any such kinds of affirmative actions. And I hope that all the women here will stay on in this profession and not leave it till the very end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that scintillating speech. आपकी बात अक्षरशः सत्य है जब आप ये कहती हैं कि हमें आंकड़ों की बात नहीं करनी चाहिए. बात यहाँ समतुल्य होने की नहीं, समानता की है. प्रिसाइजली द रीज़न पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन आर्टिकल 14 में प्रोवाइड किया गया था. आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं ILI के डायरेक्टर मनोज कुमार सिन्हा सर को बुलाना चाहूँगी. सर आपको 2 मिनट देना पड़ेगा जी. I would like to introduce sir to you all. Professor Dr. Manoj Kumar Sinha is a director, Indian Law Institute. He did his doctorate in international law from Jawaharlal Nehru University. No, sir. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Justice Lectures, yes, and thank you very much, Pragya, and Honorable Justice Indira Banerjee, Judge, Supreme Court of India, Miss Bima Datta Mukherjee, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, Bikash Verma ji, Goel ji, and all respected members of bar, teachers, students. It's a great honor to have a meeting offline after almost 2 years. And today there is a feeling that we have no fear, but we have to be a little bit alert, I think, like, you know, what we saying, mask, no mask, but we are sitting very closely, which we dreamed for when this moment will come. And I thank Honorable Justice Indira Banerjee. She has motivated 2 occasions. I remember in September also 2021 we wanted to release a book, and you came here and madam agreed to come offline, and this is the first function in the Indian Law Institute in 2022 which is offline. So we're starting today, so that is the great day also in the Women's Day. I will not speak because madam has already spoken, and sir, I'll just speak the important contribution of women in the, not domestically, also on the internationally, and that we need to recall and recognize always. And this is in the, like, when we talk about the human rights, we all talk about whether we are religious leader, whether a political leader, we talk one instrument, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The very first article of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which, like, you know, the contribution of a woman who participated in drafting of the Indian Constitution and also participated in drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the global level. That is the lady Hansa Mehta. Hansa Mehta, she participated, and when the draft article, the very first article it was drafted, it says all men are born equal in, like, you know, in born equal and dignity, like that is the word, all man. And she objected. She said, no, man is not like, it's not, it looks good, so you change, and that has been changed to all human beings. So if you read the article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all human beings, that is the contribution which has been duly recognized time to time by the United Nations and other things. I'll just take 1 minute. There are another important point which because we are passing through in a very tough time, not locally but globally, what is happening in the in Ukraine and Russia. There I see the role of it. So impact of war is hugely felt on the women and children. What we have been witnessing, the way the women are crossing the border, as, like, you know, to Moldova, to the Poland, to other countries with the family members. But the role women can play in mitigating the impact or effect of the war, that has been duly recognized in the almost 20 years back in one of the United Nations resolution, and that is very important resolution, Security Council Resolution 1325, which says women can play a key role for the prevention, management, and resolution of conflict. So the importance of the women in the prevention, management, and resolution of conflict is there, that has been recognized, and subsequently United Nations on many occasions they have adopted. The last point which I have in the mind when we talk about the sustainable tomorrow, so when many of you are aware that 2 important goals, Millennium Development Goals and Sustainable Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals also emphasizing on the role of the women, and particularly talks about the enforcement of gender equality, that is the Sustainable Development Goal 5. The last point which I have, why we need to have Convention on Discrimination. There is a Convention on Discrimination. It means discrimination is so deep, pervasive, and deep-rooted in the society, and not only locally, it's a globally, so international community thought about that we have to end discrimination. It's not merely recognizing of the right, and discrimination is not only on the, like, you know, equality. It means social, political, economical, and also in other aspect, cultural. So discrimination end. So that is the reason we have, this is the only second convention which only attacks on ending of discrimination and other area which is also violence against women. These are 2 major areas which we need to address, and I'm sure that this deliberation which is going to take place, and already we have learned a lot of things, and we'll hear Honorable Justice about the importance of the day and other things, and that will help us to sharpen our understanding on the subject. With this, I thank all of you, and particularly Vikas Sharma and Goyalji for giving me an opportunity, and associating Indian Law Institute with the All India Lawyers Forum, and we hope this relationship will continue in the future. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सो मच मनोज सर। हम सब ने आपके उस बात को और जज्बात को फील किया जब आपने कहा कि बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है 2 साल बाद सब यहाँ इकट्ठा हुए हैं, फिजिकली प्रेजेंट हैं। आई कैन टोटली रिलेट टू इट। इस बात पे मेरे काफ़ी पसंदीदा शायर हैं मजाज लखनवी, उनका एक बेहद ही खूबसूरत नज़्म है जिसका नाम है नौजवान खातून, से उसकी कुछ लाइनें बोलना चाहूँगी। तेरी नीची नज़र खुद तेरी अस्मत की मुहाफिज है, तू इस नश्तर की तेज़ी आजमा लेती तो अच्छा था। तेरे माथे पे ये आंचल बहुत ही खूब है, लेकिन तू इस आंचल से एक परचम बना लेती तो अच्छा था। हमें इस घड़ी का इंतज़ार था। हमारी आज की चीफ गेस्ट ऑनरेबल जस्टिस इंदिरा बनर्जी किसी इंट्रोडक्शन की परिचायक नहीं है। मैं पहले मैम का इंट्रोडक्शन दे चुकी हूँ, मैं ज़्यादा समय व्यर्थ नहीं करूँगी। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ मैम से कि मैम आएँ और आज के टॉपिक को लेके अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करें। ओवर टू यू मैम।
Please sit down. Ms. Pragya Parijat Singh, Ms. Vibhad Datta Makhija, Chairman of the All India Lawyers Forum, Shri Vinod Kumar Goyal, Co-Chairman of the All India Lawyers Forum, Shri Vikas Verma, Director of the Indian Law Institute, Professor Dr. Manoj Sinha, and all the wonderful persons present here today. I'm particularly happy today because I see so many men present here. It shows that we are moving forward. I wish every one of you all the best today on the occasion of Women's Day. The wonderful women present here today and the wonderful men supportive of the cause of women's equality and women's empowerment. The subject of the discussion today is gender justice and women's rights for a sustainable tomorrow. And I'm reminded of an age-old saying, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Before we even go on to what is sustainable development, I would like to share with you how I have been motivated by my mother. It was patently obvious that my mother wanted to do something in life, but she was married off when she was hardly 20 years of age. Her two sisters were, of course, sent abroad for higher education. One of them was sent to London to do research, and the other one to do her bar at law. It was my mother who always encouraged me to have a career. She infused into me from the very inception the concept of absolute equality between men and women. Of course, I was born in the year 1957, and in my childhood, things were very different. Just a few examples to show what are the roadblocks on the way to women's empowerment difficulty. When I was born, my sister was very excited. My sister was about 10 years older than me. And she commented on my looks. Oh, sweet child and all that. My mother, who was very amused, started laughing. A relative, not even belonging to the immediate family, remarked, Bani, my mother's name was Bani. Bani, third daughter, save enough money in the bank and then smiled. Save for the dowry. Two things. The evil of dowry, and the second thing is the idea that, you know, girls are temporary members of the family, who will ultimately go to the paraya ghar. Vibha was absolutely correct when she said, what we need today is a change of mindset. We have a constitution which is a gender-friendly constitution. We have the preamble to our constitution. The people of India have given to themselves a constitution which promises to secure to all its citizens. There is no discrimination on the ground of gender, no discrimination on the ground of sex. Justice, social, economic and political. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. Equality of status and of opportunity. And to promote amongst all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual. I'm not going into the other parts of the preamble, which may not be very relevant for today's discussion. We have the fundamental rights. Article 14 provides for equality of the law and equal protection of the laws. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the ground of sex. Sub-article 3 of Article 15 empowers the state to make laws specially for women and for children, which would include the girl child, to ensure equality. We have Article 16, which provides absolute equality in matters relating to public appointment to public offices. There again, discrimination on the ground of sex is prohibited. But then only recently came the judgment in respect of commissioned officers seeking appointment in the army. I see ma'am sitting in front of me, a police officer. Incidentally, my father was also a police officer. So I notice, I always saw policemen, but very happy to see a woman who's a policeman. How are women excluded? I'll just give you examples. My father was posted in the National Police Academy, and I'm talking about the 60s, when I was a child. You know, Kiran Bedi is known as the first woman IPS officer. But even before Kiran Bedi, there was a lady, possibly her name was Rekha Mishra, but I don't remember the name now. I was too young then. She got into the Indian police service. She wanted to join training. They dissuaded her. She was quite insistent. The excuse which was given was, we do not have enough mess accommodation. All the trainees have to share. You will also have to share if you come and join. She wanted to go to court, but later on, I'm told she was advised that it would be her to survive and continue if she started her career with the litigation against the very people who would be assessing her, the very people who would be writing her ACR, the very people who would be responsible for her confirmation. I am told that the same thing had happened to Kiran Bedi. You know, when I had, you were just told that I was the Chief Justice of Madras, and Puducherry is under the Madras High Court. When I used to go and work, I used to stay at the Governor House. She was the Lieutenant Governor. And she used to come and speak to me. The same thing had been told to Kiran Bedi. But she was much smarter, and that is what all women should be, in my view. She said, so what? They are my brother officers. I don't mind sharing the room. If I have to, I will. No man wanted to share a room with her. She was given a separate room. Now you have a large number of women. In spite of Article 14 in the Constitution, you were just mentioning my biodata. When was I appointed Viva? To 2018. 2018 I was, no,
Yes.
2002 was in Calcutta High Court.
Right.
To the Supreme Court in 2018.
That's right.
How many years after the Constitution came into force? 68? Yes. Over 68 years? I've never been very good at maths. That's why I'm...
I think all of us suffer from that.
So 68 years. And I think it was just mentioned that I was the 8th woman.
Yes.
How many men have been appointed between 1950 and 2018?
It's endless. We never counted because it's been the norm.
That's been the norm. It was also mentioned that I was the second Chief Justice, second woman to be appointed Chief Justice of Madras High Court. Ms. Bhandari, Justice Bhandari had been appointed in 1992 for about 6 months. And then after that, in 2017, I was appointed. I was appointed as the 40th judge of Calcutta High Court. I was the junior most on the date of my appointment on 5th February 2002. I was the only woman amidst 39 men. For almost 4.5 years, till 22nd June 2006, I was the only woman on the bench of Calcutta High Court because Justice Roma Pal had been elevated to the bench in January, had been elevated to the Supreme Court in January 2000. Then gradually the numbers increased. When I was transferred to Delhi, I was very happy that I was transferred to a court which had the highest number of women at that time, and it was only 10, possibly out of 50. And we were very happy. Soon after I went to Madras High Court, I used to proudly say that I'm the captain of a cricket team which includes a 12th person. Madras High Court at that time had the highest number of women on the bench. But 12 out of how many men? Over 70. The judge strength of Madras High Court is of 75 judges, and there may have been 2 or 3 vacancies at around that time. Why is it that women are underrepresented? And there I think the change in mindset is most important. The change in stereotyping of the roles of men and roles of women. When a child is born, for the girl child, paints the room pink. For the boy child, paints the room blue. When the child is growing up, give the car to the boy child, give the doll to the girl child. All my life I drove my own car till I became a judge of the High Court, because it can sometimes be a little embarrassing on occasions like this when you have people waiting there to receive you and you have to say, wait, let me go and park my car. I need a parking space. I didn't have a driver initially because I couldn't afford one. I was a first generation lawyer. I just now mentioned my father was in the Indian Police Service, and since I was the youngest girl, he was retired about 10 years when I joined the profession. So I had to manage my finances also. I did odd jobs while I was doing my law. I taught at a primary school. I taught spoken English at the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture. I taught spoken English at the Indo-American Society. And I earned the income which kept me going, because this profession is an expensive profession and it is difficult for people who begin. Now, all the junior lawyers who are here, whether it is men or whether it is women, if I could come where I have, I am sure you all can achieve that. Don't be discouraged. Don't leave. Try hard. Again, taking a cue from what Vibha said a little while ago, she discussed equity and equality. There is a shade of difference between equity. Equity simply means fair treatment, equitable behavior. Equality means no discrimination. What you need is affirmative action, substantive equality, not formal equality. And for substantive equality, you have to acknowledge the difficulties which women have faced because of the social tuning, social attitudes, the stereotyping of roles, the role attributed to the woman was of being a good wife, bearing children, bringing up children, looking after the house. This was considered to be her primary role. I have a caveat here. I have tremendous respect for women who are homemakers also. My mother was a homemaker and she motivated me. There is nothing wrong with being a homemaker. Secondly, just as the women has rights, a child also has rights. So if you decide to get married and to have a child, you certainly have some responsibility towards your child. But what has to change is the mindset. It is not the mother alone who is responsible for the upbringing of the child. It is joint responsibility. It is joint responsibility for both the parents. Keep that in mind. It is important to remember that there is no difference. There may be differences with my view. 2 days back at a webinar, one of the judges on the bench expressed a different view and said that I was being too idealistic. But I have always believed, and I believe, that there is no difference between a man and a woman except the physical difference, the biological difference. So do not teach young children that the man is going to be the breadwinner and she will have to take care of the home. It is joint responsibility. At the end of the day, you may decide not to work. Empowerment means, what is empowerment of a woman? Empowerment, in my view, is infusing power into a woman to decide the course of her own life within the parameters of law. A woman should have the right to be a homemaker if she wants to. She can have the right to remain single. She has the right to get married. She has the right to live in a relationship if it is not prohibited by law. She has the right to be in a profession. She has the right to work, so on and so forth. Now, I start with a reference to the resolution adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations on 28th April 2021. And I just read that, recalling its resolutions 53/199 of 15th December 1998 and of 20th December 2006 on the proclamation of International Years and Economic and Social Council resolution on international years and anniversaries, reaffirming the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Today's topic is on sustainable development. And that gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls will make a crucial contribution to progress across all the sustainable development goals. There are about 17 sustainable development goals. I will not refer to all of them for constraints of time. Noting that a relatively small number of women have been judges, including at senior judicial leadership positions at all levels. Noting with appreciation the work of the Global Judicial Integrity Network of the United Nations Office, when we celebrate a day for men judges and we celebrate a Men's Day in addition to a Women's Day. And for the same reasons, I would not repeat what has been said. This is not because we do not support the cause of empowerment of women. Why should we still be talking of empowerment of women after so many years? There should be empowered women and complete equality. Kofi Annan, however you pronounce it, the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize way back in 2002. Was it 2002 or 99? Sorry. The former Secretary General of the United Nations. Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. 2001. Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance. Good governance leads to sustainable development. I'm not going into the United UNO resolutions of which you are aware, but sustainable development has been defined as, by the Brundtland Commission as development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It therefore encapsulates the needs of both women and men. Intragenerational equity cannot be achieved without addressing the gender relations which underlie prevailing inequity. Nor can intergenerational equity be obtained or responsibility to pass on a more equitable world to future generations be met if inequalities continue to be perpetrated. When we talk about sustainable development, we talk about sustainable development in the field of ecological development, economical development, the social or the human element of development. Women constitute about 50% of the population of the world. But unfortunately, the human resources are underutilized because the talent, the ability of many of these women have not been utilized to the core. In his book, Due Process of Law, Lord Denning wrote, "A woman feels as keenly, thinks as clearly as a man. She in her sphere does work as useful as a man does in his. She has as much right to her freedom to develop her personality to the full as a man. When she marries, she does not become the husband's servant, but his equal partner. If his work is more important in the life of the community, hers is more important in the life of the family. Neither can do without the other. Neither is above the other or under the other. They are equal." To quote Swami Vivekananda, just as a bird cannot fly with one wing, the nation cannot march forward if the women are left behind. He often lamented why we treated our women so unfairly. He was in praise for Western women after his visit to the Chicago Conclave of Religions. That is because he saw that the women there worked, they were independent, they were educated, they did their marketing from whatever they earned. They also spent money for charitable activities. The right to equality, irrespective of gender, is a basic human right, recognized, reaffirmed, and reiterated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which reference had been made. All human beings are born free and are equal in dignity and rights. And everyone, irrespective of gender, is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in the Declaration. There have been major international instruments relating to women. We have had the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, commonly referred to as the Bill of Rights of Women, the CEDAW, and so on and so forth. Now, Article 1 of the CEDAW defines discrimination against women as any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex, which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise by women, irrespective of marital status, on the basis of equality between men and women, of human rights or fundamental freedom in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil, or any other field. We have had a woman who has been the president of the country. We have had a woman known to be a very dynamic woman who has been the prime minister of the country, but only one. We've had Mrs. Golda Meir, we've had Margaret Thatcher.
Angela.
Yes. But how many? And see their contribution. So this is what we are losing out. This is where society is losing out. Even those women who are homemakers, they influence the thoughts of the members of their family. Now, I can tell you, my mother, she would just switch off the lights if there was no one in the room. And one day I told her, Mama, why are you switching off all the lights? She said, you should not waste electricity. Sustainable development means preserving the soil, preserving the atmosphere, not causing environmental pollution. Now, these are the basic habits are taught at home by the parents. You know, the topic which has been given today It's a topic which appeals to my heart, I just go on and on and on speaking. But then there are constraints of time. Many of you have to go back, you have your conferences, you have your clients to meet. So I will not detain you. I will just conclude. And I will conclude by saying, please change the mindset about the stereotype role of women. Respect women. Don't support practices which are derogatory to women's duty under your Article 51. Don't treat the woman as a sex object. Sex may be part of life, but that is a different thing. It is something which is consensual. That is something which is voluntary. But you don't treat a woman as a sex object. Don't perpetrate crime against women. Don't discriminate against women at home. Give them equal education. Give them the opportunity. Yes, some women may do well, some women may not. You may educate 2 men. You may educate 2 boys in the family. One may shine, one may turn out to be mediocre. But at least the opportunity has to be given. So give women equal opportunity, respect women as human beings, keeping in mind that every human being today is born of a mother, a man or a woman. A woman is not a sex object on whom you pounce if you just see on a lonely road. A woman is not to be targeted at the place of work, for which today we have a Sexual Harassment Prevention Act. Being sensitive to the feelings is very important. Another very small experience. We first joined the chamber. We joined the court. We were looking for a senior. We used to go to a senior member of the bar. His friend sitting there without even realizing, it was all in good humor. What is this? How is it that all these fair and lovelies are after you? Now, it was said by way of a joke, undoubtedly. 3 months later, I would also have laughed it out. But think of a young, diffident junior who doesn't know anyone in the profession entering into a library which is full of men with a few women around, and she very shyly goes to talk to someone, and these comments are made within the hearing. You become hesitant to enter that room. So this is what is sensitization all about. Welcome the woman. Mentor the woman. Those who are senior and who have faced difficulties themselves should think of the difficulties women face. There are biological differences. So there may be some difficult days for women. It is nothing to laugh about. It is only part of nature. So there should be proper washrooms. There should be proper restrooms. There should be proper dispensers. In fact, I think Justice Geeta Mittal had set up dispensers in the Delhi High Court.
We just got them 3 years ago.
Okay, I had them installed in one of the ground floor washrooms of Madras High Court, because Madras High Court building had celebrated 125 years, so it was very difficult to make changes in the upper floors. So once you make a woman feel comfortable at her place of work, mentor the woman, guide the woman, she will do well in the profession. Now, talking about reservation, earlier I used to be anti-reservation. I used to say, why this reservation? It undermines our capabilities. When there were news items in the newspapers saying that for the first time there are 3 women on the bench of the Supreme Court and she is appointed as the 3rd woman. For 2 minutes I thought that I came here after experience of 18.5 years and after having served Madras High Court as Chief Justice for almost 1.5 years. So where was the relaxation? But today I have changed my views only for one reason. The more women, if there are more women in positions of importance higher up in the hierarchy, the advantage will be that they will be an example to other women, apart from their contribution. Their contribution is, of course, there. I'm not undermining that 1 minute. Today, the OA who works for me says that he is educating his daughter well. This is the change of mindset which is absolutely important. With this, I only sincerely hope that very soon we will achieve complete substantive equality of men and women, where there will be no difference on the ground of sex. There are differences which exist, to which reference has been made. Economic disparity. Everyone does not get the same advantage, but at least it should not be on the ground only of sex. And the moment women themselves also have a role in this, the attitude should not be, Vibha was saying, continue in the profession. So you should not have this in your mind that, it is an alternative. For a man, what would it be? Unless he got a job, he went away, or unless he got a better career option and he went away, he would have to continue. So why should a woman move out and say, okay, it's getting very difficult, so let me choose a different option? You choose the option of a homemaker, fine, but don't run away and choose the option of a homemaker. That is all that I have to say. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for those pearls of wisdom. The crux of Gita says, कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. इसीलिए आज मैम की स्पीच से ये कहीं ना कहीं मेरा टेक अवे या सार है दैट वुमेन हैज़ टू स्टैंड फॉर अनदर वुमन. ये हम सुनते आए हैं दैट औरत ही औरत की दुश्मन होती है. आई थिंक इट्स द टाइम जब हमें ये डिसमेंटल करना पड़ेगा. हमें एक दूसरे को इस प्रोफेशन में सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा और हार्ड वर्क के साथ आगे बढ़ते रहना पड़ेगा. With that, we are moving on to our felicitation ceremony. May I request all the dignitaries to मैं आज के गेस्ट को बुलाना चाहूँगी जिनको हम फेलिसिटेट करेंगे. पहली है इंदु बालाजी. हरियाणा के रोहतक जिले के खिड़वाली गांव में जन्म लिया. पिताजी भारतीय सेना में थे, इसलिए शुरू से ही मन में सैनिक बनने की तमन्ना थी. कॉलेज में एनसीसी से सी लेवल सर्टिफिकेट प्राप्त किया. एमडीयू से स्नातकोत्तर तथा एमफिल करने के उपरांत बतौर महिला कांस्टेबल 2007 में हरियाणा पुलिस को ज्वाइन किया तथा बैच में प्रथम स्थान हासिल किया तथा वर्ष 2008 में उप निरीक्षक के पद पर नियुक्त हुई तथा फिर से बैच में प्रथम स्थान हासिल किया. बल्लभगढ़ महिला थाना में प्रथम प्रबंधन अफसर के तौर पर इनकी पोस्टिंग हुई. उसके बाद वुमेन पुलिस स्टेशन सेंट्रल फरीदाबाद, वुमेन पुलिस स्टेशन एनआईटी फरीदाबाद तथा अन्य जिला में तब्दील होने पर सोनीपत में ये प्रभारी हुई. Dr. Smriti, dental surgeon, and she is posted at Urban Health Center, Sanjay Colony, Faridabad. May I now call upon Jyoti Mittal ji, and she is a faculty at Art of Living Foundation, which is a non-profit educational and humanitarian organization. Dr. Shweta Bajaj, a law academician and an advocate, founding partner and CEO, Synergy Lex Panacea LLP. Teaching faculties of Indian Law Institute, Professor Dr. Jyoti Dogra Sood, Dr. Deepak Kharab, Dr. Latika Vashisht.
Please come forward.
Honor, ma'am, to hear you, hear your words which are coming directly from your heart and such a long experience. We are really
Non-teaching staff of Indian Law Institute, Mrs. Gunjan Gupta, Mrs. Jyoti Dargan, Mrs. Neena Bhatia, Mrs. Rashi Khurana, Mrs. Rama Arora, Mrs. Chetna Salwan, Mrs. Usha Chauhan, Mrs. Anju. Dr. S.K. Bose, Associate Professor, Faculty of Law, Manav Rachna University. Ms. Sanya Talwar, Legal Editor, LawBeat. Dr. M.P. Singh, National Awardee. Ankit Gupta ji. Rajesh Khatana ji, Advocate. Neetu Saini, ma'am. Thank you for reminding me. Thanks.
Yes, Sanya ji and LawBeat. Thank you.
Come forward.
और क्या नाम
तन्वी दुबे जी, विक्रांत धामा जी, नवीन गुप्ता जी, प्रीति सिरोही जी।
एक ग्रेट ऑनर प्रज्ञा जी का भी बनता है।
I know her and we've met before.
Thank you so much.
This is vote of honor.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
It is very great pleasure us to see our foreign division coordinator all India Life.
Yeah, during the pandemic, she had done a lot of work with us.
I had a lecture to take at Felicitation University in the morning, some coming from Sonipat, so I got very late.
शुभम सिंगल।
Thank you. It's a great honor.
शुभम सिंगल।
ये जो नाम है
उनको थैंक्स करो बस।
We are grateful to Rohit Pandey, advocate. Sir has been an active contributor to the Supreme Court Bar Association. Mr. Sandeep Garg ji, Mr. Rajiv Gupta ji, Mr. Vikrant Dhama, Naveen Gupta ji, Anil Goyal ji, P.K. Bharadwaj, Dr. M.P. Singh, Rajesh Khatana ji, Kumar Gaurav ji, Jyoti Mittal ji, Shivani Malik, Indu Bala ma'am, thank you so much for coming here. Vibhu Shankar Mishra sir, Aftab Ali Khan, Deepak Thukral advocate, Shikha ji, and Ankit Gupta advocate. Other than that, I would also like to thank Umesh Babu Chaurasia ji. Sir is Vice Chairman of Supreme Court Bar Association and Sir runs a cooperative group housing society which provides exclusive accommodation to lawyers, so we can be thankful to him for being so considerate. Shubham Singhal ji, he's also an advocate, and Neeraj Kumar Sharma ji. I now hand over the mic to Vinod Kumar Goyal sir for his vote of thanks. Thank you so much. Namaste.
थैंक यू प्रज्ञा। कहते हैं यत्र नारेषु पूज्यन्ते रमन्ते तत्र देवता। जहाँ नारी की पूजा होती है वहाँ देवताओं का वास होता है। और मैं तो ऐसे गर्व करता हूँ ऐसे भारतवर्ष पर जिसको भारत माँ कहा जाता है, और वहाँ का मैं एक वासी हूँ। ऑनरेबल मिस जस्टिस इंदिरा बनर्जी, जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया, Ms. Vibha Datta Makhija Leonard, Senior Advocate, Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha, Director ILI, and my all respected and dear friends, very good evening. And I'm very thankful to all of you to gather here on our very short call. All India Lawyers Forum is dedicated to work for the betterment of legal fraternity and public at large. It gives me immense pleasure to talk about our forum, previous work, webinars and seminars, and our eminent chief guests and eminent speakers who graced the said events. Respected guests, during the pandemic, we organized numerous webinars on various topics in the interest of legal professionals, law students, and public at large. I would like to mention some of our most important webinars and seminars. We started our organization a special knowledge series of meditation and try to handle mental stress of advocates, as we understand the importance of mental health in people's lives. The series was big hit. We have also conducted a seminar and webinars on the different topics like AOR exam series, intent of legislatures, law on sexual violence in India, legal education and challenges in India, anti-defection law in India, plea bargaining and criminal jurisprudence, and any much more important topics we covered during this last pandemic time. We become a global name of organization webinars on the global legal studies with the eminent speakers from Oxford University, UK and Harvard Law School, USA, with the help of our international coordinator, Ms. Pragya Parijat Singh, LLM from Cambridge, and she is currently working as assistant professor in OP Jindal University. Before giving today's vote of thanks, I, on behalf of All India Lawyers Forum, firstly, I would like to express my gratitude towards the eminent chief guests and keynote speakers who have been precious parts of our previous webinars. Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Misra, former Chief Justice of India. Honorable Mr. Justice B.R. Gavai, Judge Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice L. Nageswar Rao, Judge Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice A.K. Sikri, former Judge Supreme Court of India. Honorable Ms. Justice Gyan Sudha Misra, former Judge Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice Kurian Joseph, former Judge Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice Siddharth Mridul, Judge High Court, Delhi High Court. Honorable Mr. Justice Rajiv Bhalla, former Judge Punjab and Haryana High Court. Honorable Mr. Justice Daya Chaudhary, former Judge Punjab and Haryana High Court. Mr. Vikramjit Banerjee, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Ms. Madhvi Diwan, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Ms. Aishwarya Bhati, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Mr. Jayant Sood, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Mr. Aman Lekhi, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Chetan Mittal, Mr. Chetan Mittal, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Government of India. Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Senior Advocate and Member of Parliament. Mr. Manish Tiwari, prominent lawyer and of Supreme Court of India. Mr. KTS Tulsi, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India and Member of Parliament. Dr. Salman Khurshid, former Law Minister, Government of India. Mr. Gaurav Banerjee, Senior Advocate and Barrister. Mr. Venkat Ramani, Senior Advocate. Ms. Minakshi Arora, Senior Advocate. Mr. Siddharth Luthra, Senior Advocate. Mr. Arijit Prasad, Senior Advocate. Mr. Atul Nanda, Advocate General Punjab. Mr. Satish Verma, Advocate General Chhattisgarh. Mr. Manish Singhvi, Senior Advocate and Additional Advocate General of Rajasthan. Ms. Geeta Luthra, and Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India. Dr. Pawan Duggal, Cyber Law Expert of India. Mr. Rajendra Pal Gautam, Advocate and Minister, Government of NCT of Delhi. Mr. Sanjay Singh, Honorable Member of Parliament. Now, I would like to say some lines. The best and beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt by heart. Thank you is one such prayer amongst them. I, Vinod Kumar Goyal, Advocate, Chairman, All India Lawyers Forum, on behalf of my all national and state teams and on my own behalf, extend my hearty vote of thanks to our today's chief guest, Honorable Justice Indira Banerjee, Judge Supreme Court of India. I would like to give special thanks to our today's keynote speaker, Ms. Vibha Datta Makhija, Learned Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India. I also would like to give my special thanks to Professor Dr. Manoj Kumar Sinha, Director, ILI. Respected guests and speakers, today's topic, gender justice and women's rights for the sustainable tomorrow. You all spoke very well on today's topic. Today's lecture, very motivational, informative, and all our participants, we are much obliged to you all for sharing such valuable and unique information with our participants and spare your valuable time for us on our one call. I'm very much obliged, very much thankful to all of you. Thank you very much.
हाँ, इसके बाद ये भी बोला कि सीटिंग रखेंगे, कुछ ऑनर्स हम करेंगे, बस एक बार
May I request Shivani Malik ma'am and Anil Goyal ji to kindly come on the stage. शहर का तब्दील होना, शाद रहना और उदास रौनकें जितनी यहाँ हैं औरतों के दम से हैं, तो औरत औरत का साथ बना रहे। आप सभी को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। एक छोटी भेंट हम लोगों की तरफ से ऑल इंडिया लॉयर्स फोरम मैम स्क्रॉल ऑफ ऑनर देता है विभा दत्ता मखीजा मैम को। प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर मनोज कुमार सिन्हा सर, डायरेक्टर इन इंडियन लॉ इंस्टीट्यूट न्यू दिल्ली। लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, ऑनरेबल साक्षात माय लॉर्ड्स आए हैं यहाँ पर। नहीं यार
आवाज फट रही है, थोड़ा दूर है।
ओके ओके ऑलराइट। लास्ट बट नॉट लीस्ट, ऑनरेबल जस्टिस इंदिरा बैनर्जी मैम जो समय निकालकर हम सबके समक्ष आए हैं यहाँ पे। मैम आपका हार्दिक साधुवाद। May I request the participants to kindly be seated and be patient for a while. I'm resuming litigation. Hope to appear for you.
If you hope to appear before me, then you'd better come back to litigation before.
Yes, I'm coming. I am serving my notice period. Bye, ma'am.
मैम ग्रुप फोटो के लिए
Really conducted the proceedings well.
Thank you so much.
And I love the fact that you were very comfortable in both the languages.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to resume litigation. So I was litigating. After that, I went for my master's stint.
Okay.
Then I joined the academia because COVID was there. But I'm again coming back to litigation.
When did you qualify?
Ma'am, 2014. It's been okay. So I practiced for 5 years. Then I went for my master's.
Okay.
Then now I'm assistant professor. Ma'am, for 1 year I worked with Mr. Colin Service. Ever since then I've been working independently. So I hope to see you in the corridor.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
ग्रुप फोटो में ग्रुप फोटो में थैंक यू मैम के साथ मैम फोटो हाँ हाँ
फोटो आपको मिल जाएगी सारी फोटो।
हाँ
जिनका फोटो हो गया फोटो होते आ जाओ
ये जिनके हो गया प्लीज आप लोग
जल्दी आओ ऊपर आ जाओ हाँ अभी करेंगे अभी चलेंगे तो
एक बार एग्जीक्यूटिव आ जाए सारी प्लीज एग्जीक्यूटिव आ जाए एक बार एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर्स आ जाए सारे प्लीज आप लोग प्लीज
हाँ जी थोड़ा साइड
चेयरमैन साहब फटाफट इधर आओ।